everyone, Niklsun here, and welcome to Coming Soon Movie News with Niklsun. I'm your host, and on this show, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we'll be going over all of the day's movie news, as well as going over what it means for their production in general, such as casting decisions, trailer announcements, director announcements, things like that. So, without any further ado, let's get started with today's Hot Topics. Before we get into our main stories today, I just wanted to give a little bit of an update. It looks as though the Batman v Superman rumor about it being split into two is now confirmed to be false. Henry Cavill was asked at the BAFTA Awards if it was going to be split, and he said no, it's one film. So it looks as though, as it stands right now, that could be a red herring. The image, although it did look fake, there was a lot of weight behind it, and so that's why I think a lot of these people ran with it. That's why I ran with it, was because it was logical. It made sense that could be possible. But alas, as it stands right now, it is not true. Batman v Superman will be coming out in its entirety on March 25th, 2016 as one singular film, as it stands right now. So if the rumor does end up being true or anything of that sort, I will definitely update you guys on here. But that's how it stands right now. Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice as a single film will be released on March 25th, 2016. Now let's get into today's main topic. So I had some computer issues on Monday when I was trying to edit the show together, so I was not able to have a show on Monday, and I do apologize for that. So I'm going to try to make it up. I'm going to be doing, it was just going to be my recap of the Golden Globes. And with the exception of the massive upset that was Birdman losing, I'll get into it in my discussion when I talk about that, which will probably be uploaded either sometime tomorrow or it'll be on Saturday. So keep an eye out for that when it does eventually come. I will post a note saying my Golden Globes recap is out, but that is the reason as to why I did not have an episode on Monday. So I do apologize about that. But Monday night, we got a brand new trailer for the Avengers Age of Ultron. And okay, I liked the trailer. It was too similar to the first one, but the one thing that I did like about it was the fact that, I was conflicted about this. I liked that we didn't get a lot of new footage. Even though I want new footage, I'm glad that we didn't get it, because I don't want to be spoiled before the movie comes out. I don't want to see all the cool scenes. Like, remember the first Avengers trailer, where there's the shot where the Hulk catches Tony Stark, or catches Iron Man as he's falling, and we're like, oh, that was badass in the trailer, and then we find out in the movie that was actually a crucial plot point that was spoiled in the trailer. We got some great shots in the trailer. They did not reveal that single shot that they had going through all the Avengers, which I was really happy about, but a lot of the other sequences, they were hinted at in the trailers, and from what I'm getting from what we've seen so far from this movie, I don't have an idea of the context of all these scenes. I can't see how each scene connects, where one goes to the next. And that's what I like about a trailer. I think one of the best people out there that does that is Christopher Nolan. For a Christopher Nolan film, it is very difficult to see the narrative through line throughout the film. They still hit on plot points and important parts of the film, but you never get a sense of, this is the beginning, this is the middle, this is the end, these are the spots that take place in between this and this. You can't piece that together from those types of films. And that's what I'm really liking about these trailers, is that we're not getting an abundance of footage. Now, that being said, the next trailer that comes out, which will be probably at the end of February, beginning of March, will probably showcase a lot more footage. The one thing I want to see in the next trailer that this trailer did not show, and I'm at this far out, because I mean, it's still, what, 4 months away? At this point, I'm glad we haven't seen anything from the Vision. I know that I said in the past, I want to see Vision, but now that we're getting closer to it, I really do want to experience as much of this movie in the theater as I can. I don't want it to be spoiled, or for me to know about it beforehand, before I actually go and see the film. So I'm really glad the way that the marketing team is handling this. I will say that it was a little dark, and I have a feeling that's going to be the overall tone of the movie. And I think they're really trying to sell that, really trying to let people know that this is going to be a gloomy film. But I'm missing the levity from all of the other Marvel films. I mean, even Thor: The Dark World, which was one of the darker films in terms of its context, in terms of its what happens actually in the film, what the villain is after, and all that kind of stuff. There were still lots of moments of levity. There were still lots of funny parts in the film. And while I'm pretty sure we are going to get that, they are keeping those very close to the chest. And I think that's also going to be a point that people are going to notice when the film comes out, that it is going to be funnier than they were expecting. There's going to be a lot more action, I think, that they were expecting. I love the extended sequence of the Hulkbuster versus the Hulk. We even possibly get our first look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe incarnation of a Wakandan, or Wakandan. Sorry, I mispronounced it. But there was one quick shot. Now, it hasn't been confirmed, but it looks very likely that that is a Wakandan. And that is also, if you look closely, I know this is getting a little nerdy, but if you look closely, that is the same cave that Thor was screaming in, where he was coming out of the water and he's screaming. That was the same cave from the first trailer. So I don't know what exactly is happening in there. We do know that a good portion of the film will be set in Wakanda. They are setting up the events of Civil War, which will include Black Panther, who, of course, comes from Wakanda. Wakanda is also the only source on Earth for vibranium, which is what Captain America's shield is made out of. That's what Ultron is eventually going to become made out of. That's what he is searching for. It's the most powerful material, or the strongest material on the planet. So a lot of the movie will be involving Wakanda. Whether or not we're physically there for a lot of the film is another question. But as it stands right now, I like what we're seeing, even though we didn't get a lot of new footage. And that's one of the parts that I like. It was all different, but it was all continuations and little bits and additional shots from other sequences we've already seen. So we got more of the Hulkbuster. We got more of the snow area. I loved the shot of Banner starting to Hulk out, and you can see his green eyes. I mean, I love that. It was harkening back to the Incredible Hulk, which we didn't even get a shot like that in the first Avengers. There was one shot when he's hulking out and he goes over to Black Widow and he says, "You're alive," and you can kind of see his eyes going green. But this one, they really hit it hard. They really made sure to visually put that in there, and that's a nice little touch that I really liked about it. So let me know what you guys think about this trailer. You can put a comment in the comment section. If you have not seen the trailer, which, good God, I don't know how you haven't seen it, especially if you're watching this show. But if you haven't watched it yet, you can click the link in the description of this video below to go and see the trailer, because it is actually pretty cool. I really like the design of Iron Man's new HUD. Even though it's similar, it's got a lot more going on. I think that it looks kind of cool. You know, there's not really a lot to go on in this trailer because it is so similar from the first one. But we're going to be getting a new look from it probably during the Super Bowl if they decide to do that. But if not, it'll be at the end of February, beginning of March. So when we do get more information about this topic, I will definitely update you guys on here. It looks as though Paramount has settled on who they would like to direct the upcoming G.I. Joe 3. Now, for a while, John M. Chu was originally signed on to direct the sequel. He directed G.I. Joe Retaliation, and he jumped off of that either because there was significant delays with the script. We don't know a lot about what happened in the background. There could have been significant delays with the script. It could have been the studio not liking his direction and where he wanted to take the franchise. Could have been a whole bunch of different things. But he jumped off of that and went to do Gem and the Holograms, which is going to be coming out in October of this year. Why he did that, I have no idea. Maybe he loves Spice World, or maybe he loves, Josie and the Pussycats and really wanted to do his own version of it. I have no idea. But that then led to them trying to find out who they were going to get to direct it. Now, they flirted with Martin Campbell for a little bit. Martin Campbell's the director of such movies as GoldenEye, Casino Royale, Vertical Limit. He most recently did Green Lantern, which a lot of people didn't really like. I think that was more due to the script than anything else. Martin Campbell, I don't think he really had any passion invested in it. It was really only Ryan Reynolds that really showed that he was trying to do something with that movie. But I still think he's a great director. He's done two of the best Bond films that there have been. So would I have liked to have seen his version of G.I. Joe 3? Yes, but I don't think it would have been a G.I. Joe film. I think it would have been very similar to Retaliation, where it was G.I. Joe in name only. I mean, yeah, you have military compound, you have, larger-than-life vehicles, larger-than-life characters, but it didn't feel like G.I. Joe. The first one I felt actually did. It felt like a comic book. It felt like Stephen Sommers, I felt, did a really good job with it, and it was the type of movie that it should have been. Now, maybe it should have taken itself a little bit more serious. I don't know, but I had a lot more fun with the first one than I did with the second one. Leading into the third one, it looks like they're now looking at DJ Caruso. Now, for those of you who are unaware of DJ Caruso, he's the man who directed such movies as Disturbia with Shia LaBeouf. He did Eagle Eye with Shia LaBeouf. He also did I Am Number 4. And he did a movie recently, and I can't remember the name of it, but it just kind of flew under the radar. Now, Disturbia was the movie that put Shia LaBeouf on the map for me as someone who could be a legitimate actor. Because, I mean, you look at Even Stevens and even Holes before that. And, I mean, he was serviceable. I mean, he even did The Battle of Shaker Heights, which was a Project Greenlight film. And then Disturbia came along. And just that first scene of him fishing with his father and then the subsequent car accident, I really felt like he was the type of guy who could carry a film. I felt there was a natural acting ability with him, and I got on board the Shia LaBeouf train. And then he was in Transformers, and we all know how that went. And I think he was he was almost force-fed into a couple of franchises. Indiana Jones, most notably, just did not fit in that movie whatsoever. But I really have been a fan of Shia LaBeouf and his acting talents, especially Fury. I think that's his best role to date. Anybody who hasn't seen that movie, anybody who's talking crap about Shia LaBeouf, I can almost guarantee has not seen Fury. Now, say what you will about him in his personal life. His acting talents, that's all I'm talking about. His acting talents are above reproach. They are incredible. And DJ Caruso is one of the people responsible for helping guide him, because he was in 2 of his earlier films. He had him in Disturbia, which really kind of, to me, put him on the map. That came out a few months before Transformers did. And he also did Eagle Eye, which I felt separated him away from being the kid. He played a character who was older than he actually was. I think he was playing like a 26 or 27-year-old when he was only 22 or 23. So, I mean, he was playing somebody older. He was playing somebody more seasoned. It was more of a mature content that was in the movie. Like, the stakes were higher. Everything about it I felt was a lot better, and it really showed his range. And a lot of that, in my personal opinion, was due to DJ Caruso's direction, because he is an actor's director. Especially if you watch I Am Number 4. A lot of people give that movie crap, but if you really watch it without the expectations of it being an action, like, it was sold improperly. It was marketed incorrectly because it wasn't the action adventure that we were promised. It was more of a film of discovery, and him not only discovering his own powers and his own destiny, but it was also what his feelings are, and kind of going through a teenager's set of puberty and just going through those changes in his life. And I felt that it was really well directed. And I feel that DJ Caruso coming on board of a G.I. Joe film could really add something to it. I really think we could get more of an ensemble film. I think he could really take advantage of The Rock's charisma and really utilizing that in a positive light. I think you could surround him with some better actors, get him some... if they could find a way, and to me it would be absolutely dumb if they did this, but... to find a way to bring Channing Tatum back in, because those were some of my favorite sequences from G.I. Joe Retaliation. The scene where they're playing video games, and then even just when they're talking right before the attack on their base, I felt those were the scenes that worked for me. The one character that didn't work for me, and maybe it's just because he's been phoning it in for years, was Bruce Willis as the original Joe. And as far as I'm aware, The Rock, Ray Park, who played Snake Eyes, and Bruce Willis are the only ones who are expected to come back. I don't know about Adrian Palicki. Who else was in that movie? DJ Controna, or whatever his name was. I don't think he'll be coming back. He hasn't really had anything since G.I. Joe to really talk about or really be measured. But I'm on board with Caruso. I really am. I want to know what you guys think. If you think he's a good fit, if whether or not you've enjoyed his previous films, if you haven't liked them. I think it could work, but again, the G.I. Joe franchise is one that's been struggling, and I think one thing to save both this and the Transformers franchise is to get them to do a big crossover film. Now, that's just a fanboy in me. I know the movie wouldn't work. It wouldn't make sense. You wouldn't be able to give... now, that being said, the Transformers movies, one of the things that are the problems with them is they focus too much on the human characters, but if you replace the human characters in there with the G.I. Joe characters, then you could at least be servicing both ends. It could work. It'd be inherently silly. It would be terrible. And as long as Michael Bay stayed as far away from it as he could, at least if he was on as a producer and somebody came in and said, okay, Mike, you can be a producer, as long as this movie does not cross 125 minutes. It has to stay under 2 hours and 5 minutes. If Michael Bay was given those restraints, I think he could make a hell of a film. I think he could, especially produce-wise. Like, I mean, you look at Ninja Turtles, and that movie needed about 15 to 20 minutes more, especially of character development, because they didn't do anything. It was all just visual. And the Transformers movies are all just visual, but they're too long. So I think that, having DJ Caruso come in here and doing this could be the right next logical step. But the only other thing I could see saving this franchise would be a crossover with Transformers. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Let me know if you think it's a good idea, if you like DJ Caruso as the director, or if you'd rather them just say, you know what, we're doing Transformers versus G.I. Joe. And that'll be coming out in 2019, which I think would be absolutely incredible. It would be inherently stupid. It wouldn't make sense. It would be a visual treat for the eyes as long as Michael Bay stayed away from it. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And if we do get more information about this, I will definitely update you guys on here. We have our first look at Melissa McCarthy's upcoming new film, Spy, that was originally called Susan Cooper. Now, I remember when this movie was first announced, and it was announced with the casting of Jason Statham as her partner or cohort in the film. And I loved that idea. Well, after seeing the trailer, my love was well-founded. This movie looks absolutely hysterical. Now, I know that I've gone on record before and talked about my, I don't want to use the word disdain, but just my issues with Paul Feig and his style of directing, especially his choice when choosing a project or when adapting a project or altering a project. He's gone on record to say that he will only work with female-centric films. And you've heard me go on before about my issue with that, only because of the fact that I would have the same problem with the director coming out and saying I'm only working with male casts. Because to me, narrowing your viewpoint to something like that takes away and makes it more of a gimmick. And now you have to alter things about your script to service just your one vision, your intent. And looking at a movie like Spy, I really think that he has combined everything. Yes, it is centered around a female character. There are a lot of supporting characters that are both male and female, which if that was going to be his take on Ghostbusters, to me, that would work, because Ghostbusters is going to be a remake. I'm still not all for it at all. I still don't want it. We don't need it. It's not going to be the Ghostbusters movie that we want, because it's not a continuation. But even if we got a continuation, that would not be the Ghostbusters movie that we want. So that's why that movie should not even be remade. But that's another conversation for another time. What he has done with this movie, he has given us, I think, the right combination of what people like about Melissa McCarthy. Because a lot of people loved her in Bridesmaids, they loved her in The Heat, but then you saw Tammy, and Tammy was a good, stinking, heaping pile of trash. Why? Because she was let loose. She was just like, oh, they really like the obnoxious shtick, so I'm just going to completely do that for the entire film and ruin any aspect that this movie had of actually being funny. And what they've done with this is they've really dialed it back, and they've had her be a more serious, logically thinking individual while still sprouting those one-liners, which are really funny. Like the scene at the dinner table with her friend, where she's just like, give up on your dreams, Susan. My mom used to write that in my lunchbox. Like, like that to me is hysterical. And she's being earnest. She's being quote unquote normal, or whatever terminology you would like to use. And then you see her when she gets recruited to actually be a spy from being an analyst, the crazy starts to come out. And that's where it makes more sense, because you see her build up to that. And it becomes even more funny because we are more connected to her character. We're more relatable to her character being put in this ridiculous situation when she already has a little bit of a temper, but she's able to keep it contained until she gets into these situations. I'd much prefer the Red Band trailer, but I think almost every time a Red Band trailer is better. They're not constrained. They're not having to edit it or remove certain aspects of it. Like the scene where Jude Law accidentally shoots the guy in the head. I thought that, like, are you kidding? There's so much pollen in here. But in the Green Band trailer, they digitally removed the bullet hole in his head. And he just went, oh, and then he just kind of fell forward. So I much prefer the Red Band trailer. It had more swearing, but that's to be expected. And it really showed the tone of what this movie was going to be. I think it's absolutely hilarious. And, I personally think that it could be a smashing hit. I really do, especially because it's coming out on Memorial Day weekend in the States. So yeah, I'm on board with it. Let me know what you guys think. Are you tired of Melissa McCarthy? Because up until this point I was. And this movie has kind of reeled me back in a little bit. This trailer, at least, this first look, the movie could be utter garbage. With Paul Feig behind it, I mean, his track record so far has been pretty good. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I really do think that this could at least bring her back into the sense of, okay, if she's going to be in another movie, I might really start to look forward to that. But as it stands right now, I'm really looking forward to this. I think Spy could be the breakout comedy of the summer. We got Spy and we have Ted 2. So this summer already is lining up to be a pretty successful year for really good comedies. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's going to be opening up on May 22nd, 2016. If we do get any more information about Spy, I will definitely update you guys on here. Alex Garland, the writer of such movies as 28 Days Later and Carl Urban's version of Dread, and also has his upcoming feature directorial debut, Ex Machina, coming out later on this year, was recently doing some interviews. And, you know, I guess the idea of a sequel to 28 Weeks Later was brought up, or a continuation of that storyline, and if there was still talks about that came up, and he said actually yes. Now, while this is not confirmed, this is just more conjecture than anything. It's just them spitballing. But Alex Garland did say that he and Danny Boyle have been having quite serious conversations in regards to a 28 months later. It'd be 28 months later. They haven't confirmed that title. He says, we don't know if it'd be 28 months later, but it would be the next logical step. We're definitely not doing 28 years later. Which I thought that was a kind of a funny joke, you know, just continue on. Imagine if they went even further, like 28 millennia later. I just thinking like it's all just like space orbs and stuff like that, and people just kind of floating around all bubbly and stuff. It would just be, you could get to really cool territory with that. Really absurd, really weird, more of like a skit, like an online skit, like a Funny or Die type thing. You could really do something weird with that. Or actually, you know what? No, oh, why am I drawing a blank on this? Robot Chicken. Robot Chicken, I think, could do a great version of that. But anyway, getting back to 28 months later, there are no current story details that have been revealed, but he did say that they have an idea. The problem is that it's complicated, and he doesn't elaborate on what the complication is. So whether or not that's getting the schedules together, whether or not that's the idea they have stretching it out into a feature-length film. For those of you who may not even remember, Jeremy Renner was one of the main actors in 28 Weeks Later. So, I mean, these movies do sprout very good talent. And they do have stuff that's worth watching. I especially love the helicopter blade sequence in 28 Weeks Later. That was absolutely disgusting, but oh my God, was it cool. So yeah, I mean, where would I like to see it go? I would like this to become more global. I really did like how the stakes were raised from 28 Days Later to 28 Weeks Later. 28 Days Later really focused on a small-knit group that ended up finding a compound. The second one was more about the military reestablishing a perimeter within the city of London and actually having people move back in to horrific events starting to happen. And then they had to napalm the whole city. That was a really cool sequence. But then the movie ends in Paris at the Eiffel Tower with all these, you know, zombies. They don't call them zombies in the movie, but all these zombies running towards the Eiffel Tower. And I really want them to see them go more global. I want to see the effects of this happening all around the world. Now, by that, I do not mean I want to see World War Z. I do not want it to become this massive action franchise, although these movies do have action in them. I really want them to retain the horror aspect. I really want them to retain the terrifying notion. Like this, one of my favorite sequences in the original movie was the sequence when they were in the apartment building, when they went to Brendan Gleeson's apartment. That whole segment of the movie is one of my favorite parts of the entire first film, just because it's more of a character moment, yet there's still terror. You are still scared for these people, and that's what I think a lot of people connected to in the original one. So I would really like them to see them return to that with 28 months later. Could they do it? I don't know. With it being 28 months, you know, that's 2.5 years later, it could work. You could have it be set globally. You could have it be set. Now, the one thing I hope they don't do is don't put it on an island. I just hope they don't put it on an island. Unless it's, you know, Great Britain and the whole movie revolves around that. It's the only last safe haven. They've been able to clear it out. And, you know, something happens where more zombies start to come on board. I don't know. But I do want to see it become more global. I would love to see how the effects are happening, you know, in Asia or in Australia or in Africa or, you know, anything of that sort. See what the Russians are up to, maybe even over here in North America, South America. Go somewhere, go bigger, you know. Not necessarily bigger budget, bigger action, anything like that, but just go larger stakes, larger scale. And I think it could really work. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section. If you think this is a good idea, I think 28 months later is too far removed from the originals for it to actually make any sort of impact. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. But if we do get more information about this topic, I will definitely update you guys on here. It looks like there's a possibility we may be getting a reunion of Gone Girl of sorts. It looks as though David Fincher, Ben Affleck, and Gillian Flynn are in talks, or maybe not even in talks, maybe just having discussions, which I know sounds the same thing, but they are different, to be remaking Alfred Hitchcock's Strangers on a Train. Now, this, to me, a lot of people, I've been reading a lot of comments about this, and a lot of people are going off the wall saying like, oh, of course, Fincher, he's remaking something else. The guy's not original and stuff like that. And I went, not original? Okay, first off, Seven was original. Even though a lot of his other works have been adaptations, his way of directing, his style of directing, and his films on their own are always unique. Even if they are an adaptation, nobody could match him. He has his own singular style in terms of the music, in terms of the editing, in terms of the shot, the color palettes that he uses, the composition of everything in his film. I mean, even just go online and watch the visual effects breakdown of Gone Girl, a movie that you wouldn't think would have very many, if at all, any CGI work in that film. Has a surprising amount. I had no idea that that house was shot with green screen. Like, so innocuous that even a shot that is in the background that's so blurry you can't even make it out. They even removed the green screen and put a very blurry picture of like a tree or grass or something like that. Like, he goes that far with his storytelling to make sure that he captures whatever he needs to in a shot. Martin Scorsese is very similar with that. If you watch the visual effects reel for The Wolf of Wall Street, he just shoots wherever he wants and composites the shot in the editing room with CGI, with additional location shooting and stuff like that. Just composites the shot. So I am an advocate where I do think that David Fincher is a very original director. Even though he may be taking the stories from something else, he is putting his own unique spin on it, and it's his vision of what he wants to tell. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo notwithstanding. That, to me, even though I really did like his version, I didn't feel that there was any reason for him to do it, because the original version already did have a David Fincher-like feel to it. It was a very similar type of style. There were obviously differences, but there was a through line through it. You could sense that it already kind of had, it was almost like it already had his fingerprints on it. But him coming on board Strangers on a Train, this could be absolutely fascinating. Now, this is the rumor plot that would entail. Now, the original was about, I believe it was a tennis coach or a tennis star. Ben Affleck would likely be playing the main actor, and he would play a movie star who is on an Oscar campaign, whose private plane breaks down, and he has to hitch a ride with a wealthy stranger back to Hollywood. Now, very similar to the setup of the original, where it's on a train instead of on a plane. Maybe he has to go on the train. We don't know. Again, this is all just kind of rumor and conjecture right now, but it's still really fascinating. That's why I want to talk about it. And one of the biggest aspects to me that could really make this work, if Ben Affleck signs on, if this is legitimate, if Gillian Flynn is writing the script, David Fincher's directing, Ben Affleck signs on, the biggest question mark to me, who is going to play the stranger? Now, anybody who's seen the original knows that it has to be somebody who's enigmatic, somebody who can captivate the audience, get you to like him, but also hate him at the same time. And the only person that I could think of, somebody who's been dying to play a role like this for a long time, is Tom Hanks. Just imagine that. Imagine Tom Hanks being somebody who propositions to him. This is how I think the storyline would go. The incident happens. He has to go with this other gentleman, and during their flight or their train ride or whatever the case is, they start talking, and he's aware that, I'm on a campaign. I'm trying to get the Oscar nomination for my role in whatever movie, and the stranger could be somebody who is very influential within Hollywood, somebody who sits behind the curtains, that a lot of people don't know, and he says, okay, I have a proposition for you. I will guarantee you the Academy Award. Not only the nomination, I will guarantee you the award if you do this. And then it could be that, okay, well, he's about to go and do it. He says, you know what, I'll definitely do it. It's somebody who's innocuous, nobody knows about them, whatever the case is, somebody who's bothering this person. But then maybe he backs out. Maybe he says, no, I'm not going to do this. Maybe he recognizes the person. Maybe he knows them. Whatever the case may be. And then it's a great cat and mouse game between these two about the one guy saying, you know what, well, I'm just going to go and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to kill this person and make it look like you did it. And it's great cat and mouse. That's the genre that David Fincher thrives in. And I really think that he could bring something really cool and unique. This movie also came out 64 years ago now. It was 1951 that this movie came out. So it is, there is time for a remake. You can remake this movie. As long as you don't do what Gus Van Sant did in the 90s and do a shot-for-shot remake. Because that Psycho remake was absolutely terrible. But then you look at something like Bates Motel. While still not a remake of Psycho, it is still set within the same world. And it's still done really, really well. So this can work. Remaking or revisiting a Hitchcock classic is not sanctimonious. It's not going against the grain. It's not going to piss off as many people as I think, especially if you get somebody like David Fincher involved. Again, going back to that name, if Michael Bay was going to remake an Alfred Hitchcock movie, you would have everybody, I think even myself included, picketing. Because no, there is no reason. There's nothing that he's going to be able to bring to that. None of his movies will need any sort of Michael Bay influence. But you get somebody with David Fincher. You get his visual style. You get his understanding of character, his understanding of shot composition, and his understanding of key timing. Well, then that is a recipe that could work. Especially if you bring in Ben Affleck to star, somebody who's on probably one of the best resurgences of anybody's career, next to, well, no, it's even better than John Travolta's in the 90s, because he really only had 2 or 3 movies and then the rest of them were garbage. But this is one of the best resurgences of a career that I can think of. On top of that, Gillian Flynn, who wrote Gone Girl, who then wrote the screenplay adaptation of Gone Girl, which is one of the reasons why I think that movie worked so well, was because they had a great adaptation to work from. And then you add in all the other pieces. You bring all these things together, I think that could work great. Add on top of that, Tom Hanks in the role of the stranger. I still think that is the best choice to do it. And somebody else could come right out of left field. I mean, obviously Daniel Day-Lewis, if they could get him. But Tom Hanks has been somebody who's been wanting to play a villain for a while. Cloud Atlas notwithstanding, even though he was only in 2 of the shorter segments. But still, Tom Hanks as a bad guy. He's been wanting to play a bad guy for a while. And I really think that could work, especially a mischievous person. Somebody who you're not quite sure what he is capable of. Going up against Ben Affleck, to me, that's cinema gold. Now, there is still no rumored shooting schedule or release date or anything like that. This isn't even confirmed that this movie's happening. This is all just kind of rumor and conjecture. But if this is indeed David Fincher's next film, with Ben Affleck's busy schedule coming up, because not only does he have his Live by Night movie that he's directing next, which I think he is filming now. He might have already, at least he's starting pre-production on it, because that movie's scheduled to come out October. I don't know if it's October of this year or if it's October of next year. I think it's 2016 that it's scheduled to come out. But then in 2017, he has Justice League Part 1, and then he has Justice League Part 2, which they're going to film as one, so that's going to be a massive shoot. Somewhere in there as well, he's going to have to shoot his standalone Batman film, because they have said that between now and 2020, there will be a standalone Superman film and a standalone Batman film. So we still don't know where that's going to fit in. And so outside of all that, there's only so many spaces that Ben Affleck can fit a movie like this into his schedule. With David Fincher, he's the type of person, he likes to take a lot of takes, which means that this will be a longer film shoot. So I would have to assume it would be at least a 90-day film shoot, between 80 and 90 days, so almost 3 months. And if that's the case, if he's doing Live by Night right now, he's directing it and shooting it, so he's going to want to have the filming done at least 9 to 12 months before the release of that film to give himself time for editing, maybe even less time. So if that's the case, he'll probably be filming it this fall. If David Fincher can get the wheels going really quick on this, then we might even be able to see them film this movie this summer. Worst case scenario, once he has done principal photography on Live by Night, he could then siege right into acting in this, unless that will impede the schedule of Justice League. Because Justice League 1 doesn't come out till November of 2017. Even though they're filming them both back to back, it's probably going to be about a 9 or 10 month shoot. Then it might even be longer. It might even be a 12-month shoot, depending on the content they're going to need for that. But then when you think about that, they're going to have to film the movie in 2016. Is when, starting in probably April or May of 2016 is when they're going to start shooting Justice League. that only leaves a very small window. So it could work. And they might even rearrange the shooting schedule of Justice League where they get all of Ben Affleck's scenes in one section. And then maybe he comes in at the tail end, but it gives him a good chunk to leave and go and do something else. There's always a way that it could work. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you think that, Fincher remaking a Hitchcock classic is a good idea. If you think the cast and writer sounds good. What you think about their new interpretation of the story and what it could play into. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. But if we do get more information about this, I will definitely update you guys on here. Well, that'll about do it for us here on Coming Soon Movie News with Niklsun. Thank you so much for watching. You guys have been a great audience. Go ahead and click the subscribe button there in the bottom corner. You can get updates whenever we post a new video. You can also follow me on Twitter at Niklsun, Niklsun, for all of your movie updates. And also give us a like on our Facebook page at facebook.com/movie news with Niklsun. If you ever have a topic or a question you'd like to have talked about on this show, you can go ahead and put a comment in the comment section, or you can email us at movienewswithniklsun@gmail.com, and we'll try to answer them on every Friday episode. But until next time, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.